Good day! This is Visual Lesson 2.3 about inverse variation. And the learning competency is the learner solves problems involving variation. To solve word problems involving variation, one should follow these suggested procedures. Number 1. Understand the problem. Read the problem carefully to identify what quantities are varying inversely. Determine what you need to find. Number 2, identify the variables. Assign variable to the quantities involved. The assigned variable follows the first letter of the quantities except for k, it is a variable used for constant. Create a table to place the quantities. This will help you determine what needs to be found. Number 3, set up the inverse variation statement. Determine which quantities in the problem are varying inversely. Number 4, determine the constant of variation. Use the information provided in the problem to find the value of k. Typically, you will be given a pair of values for the two variables and satisfy the inverse variation relationship. Substitute these values into the equation and solve for k. Number 5, write the equation of variation. Once you have determined the value of k, substitute it back into the inverse variation equation. This gives you a specific equation of variation for the problem. Number 6, solve for the unknown. Substitute the given values into the equation of variation to find the unknown quantity. Then, solve for the desired variables. Then always check your final answer by verifying your solutions by plugging it back into the original equation to ensure that it all satisfies the inverse variation relationship. So let's have illustrative example number 1. 10 workers can paint a house in 4 days. How many days will it take 20 workers to paint the same house? So this is an example of inverse variation kasi habang marami ang nagtutulong-tulong ay mas matatapos na agad nila yung isang trabaho. So let's identify the two quantities that varies inversely, and that is workers and days. So let's identify what are the givens. So we have 10 workers that can paint a house in 4 days. And the other given is 20 workers because the unknown is the number of days. As required, we need to assign the variable, so let W be equal to the number of workers, D be equal to the number of days, and K be equal to the constant. So let's create a table. We put W here as a dependent variable and D as the independent variable. So the unknown is how many days, so we will put the question mark here. Then let's just input this given into the table. So we have 10, 20, and then the days is 4. Now let's formulate variation statement. Since this is inverse variation, we have W equals K over D. Then finding the constant, we will use 4 and 10 since these are the pair of values that satisfy the inverse variation statement. So we have 10 equals K over 4. Then let's multiply 4 and 10. So we have 40. And the equation of variation is Y equals 40 over D. So remember, we just replace the value of K here. Then let's solve for the unknown. The unknown is the number of days. From the equation of variation, ito yung unknown yung nasa ilalim natin. So we have 20 is equals to 40 over D. If we multiply 20 and D, that is 20D equals to 40. Then divide both sides by 20, we have D is equals to 40 over 20. And 40 over 20, we have 2. So therefore, it will take 2 days for the 20 workers to paint the same house. Next example. The time required to reach a destination varies inversely with the speed of the car. A car traveling at 60 km per hour takes 3 hours to reach its destination. How long will it take if the car travels at 90 km per hour? So let's identify the two quantities that varies inversely, and that is the time and speed. So let's take note of the given. The first one is 60 km per hour and 3 hours. The next is the 90 kilometers and the unknown is the time. As required, so let's denote the given quantities. So let H be equal to time in hours, S be equal to speed of the car, and k be equal to the constant. So let's create a table. We will put h here as the dependent variable and s as the independent variable. Now, the unknown is how long will it take if the car travels, so we are talking about that times. And then, we will just input all the givens that we take note dito sa ating table of values. Yung time ay 3, yung speed ay 60 at 90. So, let's now formulate a variation statement. Since this is varies inversely, we have h equals to k over s. Then, finding the constant of variation, we will use 60 and 3. So, by substitution, we have 3 equals to k over 60. Then, multiply 60 by 3. That is 180. Then, to get the equation of variation, we will just replace the value of k. So, we have h equals to 180 over s. Then, using the equation of variation, we will solve for the unknown, which is the time. So, by substitution, we have h is equals to 180 over 90. And that is 2. Therefore, it will take 2 hours to travel the same destination at 9 kilometers per hour. Next example. Suppose the intensity of light 2 meters away from a light source is 50 lux. Given that the intensity of light varies inversely with the square of the distance from the source, what is the intensity of light 4 meters away from the same light source? Ano ba yung dalawang quantities na nagva-vary inversely? And that is the intensity of light and the distance from the source. So by the given, i-take note natin lahat ng mga binigay na given. Ang una, meron daw 50 lux na intensity of light kapag ito ay 2 meters away from the light source. And then, yung sumunod na given ay meron siyang 4 meters away. Therefore, this is a distance kasi ang tinatanong ay what is the intensity of light. So, the unknown is the intensity. So, as required, let's assign the variables for this quantity. So, let capital I be equal to intensity of light, D be equal to distance, and K be equal to constant. Again, let's create a table. We will put I here because intensity is the dependent variable and D is the independent variable. Since the unknown is what is the intensity of light, we will put the question mark here. We will just input all the givens that we note kanina. So we have 2, 4, and then 50. Then let's now formulate variation statement. So this is inversely with the square of the distance. So we have I equals to k over d squared. And to solve for constant of variation, we will use 2 and 50. So we have 50 equals to k over 2 squared, and 2 squared is 4. Then let's multiply 50 and 4, and the result is 200. So finding the equation of variation, let's just replace the value of k from the variation statement. We have I equals to 200 over d squared. Then let's solve for the unknown. Since the unknown is the intensity, we will just substitute the given value of distance, which is 4, to the equation of variation. So I equals to 200 over 4 squared. So 4 squared is 16. So 200 divided by 16 is 12.5. So therefore, the intensity of light 4 meters away from the light source is 12.5 lux. So ano nga ba yung lux na yan? So lux is the unit measurement for the illuminance and luminous emittance. Alright, so thank you for watching this video lesson. I hope you understand more our lesson about inverse variation.